Hello, welcome back to part 4. On this one I should be laying the flexi track for the fiddle yard. I might do a quick one for the scenic side, because there's 1 or 2 different things I've got to do on that side that I shan't do on the back scene. But for now we should just concentrating on the fiddle yard with the flexi track. First of all, let me apologise for those that have seen my other video with no sound. I've now deleted that one because I've uploaded the new one with the sound and voices, so I apologise for that. But anyway, let's get on with this one and I'll show you what I should be doing on this. On this one, I should say, so just doing the flex track, but I'll give you an idea how long the length of the storage yard is. From here all the way down to where that packet is 10 foot, and I can get 2 trains on there. Bearing in mind this is DCC, if you're doing analog you're going to have to plan how long your trains are so you can make sections. But when we're being DCC, all I should do is just run the track straight through. If you look here, there's middle of the boards on that one and this one. If you look, there's a gap. Let's say if you have a look, you'll see that there's a gap between the 2 joins, and this is simply that all the way down is so when I cut the track and it goes across, when I cut the track, it's the thickness of the blade. I shall show you just a little demonstration of what I mean by putting the gaps in the boards like that. If you cut the track, which would be there with baseboards, you can see that you're going to cut either with a saw, which is like with one of these saws, or use of a cutting disc. This one's supposed to be diamond tipped, so it's a bit more expensive than this one, which is, I think it's a carbon. They're both good, they both go through the tracks very good, but let me see if I can do this. I don't know whether you can see that one's slightly thinner than the other, and that's what you're paying for. But whatever system you use, whether it's using them or the saw to cut through the jet rail, you're going to have a problem if you butt them up like that. It's not necessarily a big problem, but it's another problem. As you cut your blade, as your blade goes through and you've done it, you're going to have a bit of a gap. It's having trouble focusing. There we are. You've got your gap of the track, and that's the thickness. That'll be the thickness of the blade, like so. Let me see if I can get a bit closer for you. Wait for it to focus. No, it's not going to. There we are. You can see the gap now. And that's the thickness of whatever blade you use. But there's something I've seen on YouTube of I think we're an American layout, and what they done is they open the board the thickness of the blade and put the track across like so, and then they cut the track across like that. And because they've opened the boards up as thick as what the blade is, whether it's the same disc or a saw, they've created that gap. So when they come to push the boards back together, you get a nice butt joint. I've not tried it yet myself, so I'm experimenting on this layout. Hopefully it should work. In theory it should be okay, but we all know that theory and practice are two different things. Anyway, right, I'm going to carry on laying this track and we'll discuss one or two things in a bit. Right, I've laid some of my track down. I've run out of bits and pieces, and which I shall come back to later on. But for now, I'll just show you what I've done, and then you'll be able to see how it's coming along. As you can see, I've been busy. I've laid half the fiddle yard. I'm just about to start the other half. I'll show you all the way down. All the way down to the bottom end. From each end, as I said last time, it's about 10 foot long. I don't know whether you can see the string, whether you can see it, that end moving, but the string goes all the way down from this point here, and it goes all the way down to the one on the other end. The idea of the string is to give me a straight line, because this one was my first track to go down, and then I've gone off all the tracks at the side of it, and as you can see, the string goes all the way down to the bottom. There it is there, moving it along so you can keep an eye on it. And it goes on to that other point on the other end, and then make sure the string's tight, and then I'll go off all the other tracks for it. As you can see, they're all roughly about the same distance apart, and that is through what they call a track gauge that Pico produce. This is the track gauge. You can get them from most model shops, and as well it is, you can see this and this is a bit narrower than these. I tend to use the narrow ones for the layout. It gives a better presentation, and knowing that it's more to the point of being the right gaps apart. I think what it is on these two for flexi track when you're doing what we're doing now, and if you're using set track, I think you use the bottom ones because they're a bit wider, and set track tends to be a bit wider. But I'll show you how I use it. I've got one piece of track to lay and be ready, and then I'll carry on with the rest. As you can see, I've already put the glue on, and I'll show you how to use the gauge. I'll move the string out of the way. All the string is just a couple of pins in the track and hold in. Right, that's got that in, and what I use is my track setter straight edge. Put her in the track like that. Then with my track gauge, all I do is put the little noggins in the track like that. I don't know whether you can see that. Let's see if we can get a bit closer. There we are. That's better. And then once I'm happy with that, with the gaps between the tracks, as I say, I'm using the smaller ones. Sorry, it's out the camera. As I say, I'm using the smaller ones, so they're the bottom ones, and you just put them in the track beds like that, and that gives you your spacings. All I do then is hold it in spot, get a couple of pins, all these are doing for now are just holding the track in place. Slide me straight edge away, down so I can do the next bit. And just keep repeating it as I go down, making sure you still get the same, making sure you're still using the same gauge in the track like so. And then like that. And the reason why I use the straight edge, twofold. One is so I know that bit's straight, and as you can see, it straightens the rest of the track out when it slides down. And that's all I do, and I should do that all the way down to get to the other end. Right, and I'll show you what I've done now. All the tracks laid down and fitted in the storage yard, so all I've got to do now is some soldering and cut at the baseboard joins. I'll just show you what I've done for now. There we are. Here's all the storage yard done, from right at the other end all the way through to this side, and all the way down. I put a couple more extra sidings in. I don't know whether you can see these two. They're about 2 foot long, and I've done a couple more on the other end as well, just to give it more extra storage situation and more places to hide the trains and whatnot at the back. It is a 7-yard fiddle yard, but this is the middle one. This is the middle one, and I can feed onto both lanes on this because of the way the track comes through, and then it's the same on the other side. This is my middle one. If you remember, I put the string on this one, and then I've done all the tracks all off of it. As I say, and it goes all the way down to the other end. like so. And as you can see, the other end, I've got 3 extra sidings coming off on the other side as well. Now, so what I've got to do now is some soldering, which I shall show you now. So what I've got to solder now is these track joins across the baseboard here. All I've done so far is just got me fibre pen. As I say, just be careful of this pen. All I've done is got my fibre pen and just rubbed it across on the insides of both rails and outsides. I don't know whether you can pick it up, whether it's just a bit shiny. And now they're all clean, and I've done it all the way along, all the way that side and all the way down this side, and now I'm getting ready for doing soldering. And I've done most of the soldering along this lot. I've just got 2 here to do, which I'll show you how I do them. Nothing special. Liquid flux, put it at the back of the track and on the copper clad as such. Try and get the brush underneath, put that out of the way so it don't get knocked. Try and do this so put a bit of solder on the tip of the iron and then just run it along the bottom. So what you're trying to get is a nice amount of solder underneath the track, because don't forget you're going to be cutting this. The same again the other side. Try not to breathe the fumes in, it just makes you cough and splutter. Put the track setter in, just so as it can keep so it don't squash the tracks together. And then once I've done the outside rails, just move that out of the way. Get my flux again. And do the inside. And say try to get the flux underneath, not flux, the solder underneath the track to make sure it's soldered on properly, because the last thing you want to do is when you cut the track, it moves the track when after you've cut it. I think that's that one, just to make sure. No, it's still got some space there. Hopefully that's cocked fit. That's it, going through the other side just nicely. And there we are. I'll just do that last one, which is this one, and then I shall cut all down here. Obviously, if you're making the layouts that permanently fixed at home, you don't have to put all this in, because all you'll do is just put the tracks across the join, and then when I'd advise you to put a join in, because in a few years time you might want to move house. So if you do it right now, you haven't got to do it later on. Right, then I'll just do this one, and then I shall cut the track. Move the camera around to see if you can see any better. Just put some flux on this. All this is liquid flux. When you finish soldering, wash the track down with water, because it will not corrode, but it'll do some damage. Well, I don't know, it's like a corrode if you're not careful. Try to get the solder underneath the track. I'm afraid I'm going to get my arm in the way on this side. Can't quite see what I'm doing. Let's run the solder along the bottom of the track. Hopefully it's running underneath it. There we are. Remove the track set. All I'm putting that in for is just to keep the track level, straight basically. Oh, not too bad. So when you put the brush under, you can soon find out. Just clean the tip again. And then do the inside. Thing is, if you're a bit nervous about soldering, there's no to be worried about. If you make a mistake, just warm the solder up again and move the track. It's not a permanent fixture, so as in you can't repair it. So all you need to do is just reheat the solder, and then you can take it out again and redo it again. I'll just check my brush, see if I've got underneath it all. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. Put the lid back on. Last thing you want to do is spill all that all over your layout. Alright, the next job is to cut through the rails. I'm going to start cutting. I should be wearing my safety goggles just in case any sparks or drill breaks. There's a slight possibility if the drill jams. So what it is, it's a Dremel with a extension lead hose on it. It will be a bit noisy, so I apologise, but I'll cut straight through all these and I'll show you how it's done. It's just jammed there, and unloosen the drill bit, just tighten it back up and then restart again. There we are, all cut through. It's not a race, just take your time and it'll all go through. This is what I'll do now, is unbolt it or the board and then just file off and make it all nice and tidy. And then hopefully, I don't know whether you can see, let me just see if I can do it. I don't know whether you can see the gap. Let me try it with these. Oh, this will be better. Might be able to see it, the gap. And hopefully when I bolt them boards up properly, that gap will disappear. Hopefully, he says. Oh, sorry. You see that gap? That gap there. The other thing you've got to do is with copper clad, obviously you're going to get shorts because of the rails. So what you have to do, you have to cut across all these. Just show you how I do it. The reason why you do that is obviously I've just said because you'll have a short else. Even if you go analog or DCC, you must. Oh, forgot to do that one at their end. You've got to go through the copper clad, because obviously the copper will carry the current through. There we are, can you see that? That one's better. As I say, just go through the copper clad all the way down. It shows the power don't go, you don't short out everything, because when you think on it, you're going to have the one rail's going to be positive and the other one's going to be negative, and if you don't separate the copper clad, you're going to have shorts, and this is where you'll get it. And that's what you do all the way down. And then if you, as long as you remember to do that, you should have no problems. There we are then, all finished. The track's been cut. There's the join, soldered and then cut through as I've shown you earlier on. To give you an idea how big the storage road is, I've just placed 7 coaches on there, and as you can see there's all that room still. One or two things to be left to be done up this end. One of the things is, once I've finished this curve that comes round, just here I'm going to be putting a program track, but I can't put that in until I've decided how I want this curve going. Once that's in, then I know exactly how long I've got there, and with that I shall have the program track, and I've got a rolling road, so if I buy a loco to show, I can run it in and then program it. I've got another bridge to build along here. I'm going to extend that one to about where that ruler is, by putting a platelet girder bridge on there. And then as I say, I'm building a bridge there. So for now, let's say this is the fiddle yard all sorted and finished now. I've got some magnets on order, as I'm going to try that, the Dapple Easy Shunt system for unhooking. I've got them on order. Once I've got them through, I'll do a little test on them and then put them on the main layout. I might not be able to do a video for March, as I've got a week's holiday coming up in the middle of March and we're going away, and I've got the front tractor lay to do, and I've got 2 shows to go to attend at the end of February. The first one is for the weekend with Selby in Leicestershire, and then the following Sunday I've got one in Trowell, and they're the last 2 weekends of February. If you're coming to the show, come up and say hello. If you want to have a quick chat, we'll have a chat and I can explain anything you like. But for the meantime, so I might not have another video till about April, which I apologise for. But for now, I hope you've seen everything that you like. If not, please comment, get back to you. And if you'd like to subscribe, please do so. Right, for now then, bye.